For over a century, a small piece of land in the Middle East has been the center of a painful conflict between Jews and Arabs. At the heart of this struggle are Israelis and Palestinians, each with deep historical and religious ties to the land they call home. Their competing dreams and aspirations have collided, creating a cycle of violence and sorrow that continues today. For Jewish people, this is the biblical land of Israel, central to their faith for millennia. For Palestinians, it is the land of their ancestors, where they have lived and built communities for centuries. The conflict took shape in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, as nationalism and the collapse of empires brought these two groups into direct competition. Both Israelis and Palestinians have experienced profound suffering and injustice, with legitimate grievances and powerful narratives of resilience. This documentary will explore the historical roots, major wars, peace efforts, and the reasons why a lasting solution remains elusive. By understanding both sides, we can begin to see the shared humanity beneath the headlines. For centuries, the land now known as Israel and the Palestinian territories was part of the Ottoman Empire, home to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. In the late 19th century, Zionism emerged in Europe, calling for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. Jewish immigrants began arriving, buying land and building new communities, which alarmed the local Arab population. Tensions rose as Arabs feared displacement and loss of identity. The weakening Ottoman Empire set the stage for direct confrontation between Jewish and Arab national movements. After World War I, Britain took control of Palestine, making conflicting promises to both Jews and Arabs. The 1917 Balfour Declaration supported a Jewish national home, while Arabs expected independence. Under British rule, Jewish immigration surged, especially as Jews fled Nazism. The Jewish community built strong institutions, while Palestinian Arabs launched revolts against both British rule and Jewish settlers. By the 1930s, the seeds of a bitter struggle for control of the land had firmly taken root. By 1947, Britain handed the conflict over to the United Nations, which proposed partitioning the land into separate Jewish and Arab states. Jewish leaders accepted the plan, seeing a chance to establish their own state, while Palestinians and the Arab world rejected it as unjust. Violence erupted, and as the British withdrew, civil war broke out. On May 14, 1948, Israel declared independence, fulfilling the Zionist dream. The next day, neighboring Arab states invaded, launching the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Israel survived and expanded its territory, but for Palestinians, this was the Nakba, the catastrophe. Around 750,000 Palestinians fled or were expelled, becoming refugees in neighboring countries and the West Bank and Gaza. The war ended with armistice lines, not peace, and the Palestinian refugee crisis began. Israel was born, but the legacy of dispossession and the demand for a right of return became central to the conflict. The stage was set for decades of unresolved tension. After 1948, Israel's borders remained tense, with frequent skirmishes and no recognition from Arab neighbors. By 1967, tensions peaked as Egypt blockaded Israeli shipping and Arab armies massed on Israel's borders. Israel launched a preemptive strike, beginning the Six-Day War. In 6 days, Israel captured the Sinai Peninsula, Gaza Strip, West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Golan Heights. Israel tripled its territory and gained control of all Jerusalem, sparking euphoria among Israelis. But this victory created a new reality: military occupation of over 1 million Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. The UN called for Israeli withdrawal in exchange for peace, but vague wording led to decades of dispute. The conflict shifted from Israel versus Arab states to a struggle over the occupied territories. The occupation became the central issue, shaping the lives of both Israelis and Palestinians. The Six-Day War transformed the conflict and set the stage for future confrontations. After 1967, Israel's occupation of the West Bank and Gaza changed daily life for both peoples. Israel gained a sense of security, but also became a military occupier of a large Palestinian population. Jewish settlements began to expand in the occupied territories, complicating any future withdrawal. Palestinians faced military rule, checkpoints, land confiscations, and severe restrictions on movement. Economic development was stifled, and resentment grew under the constant presence of a foreign military. The occupation fueled both peaceful and violent resistance, while Israelis grappled with the moral dilemmas of enforcing control. The First Intifada in 1987 was a mass uprising. The Second Intifada in 2000 brought even more violence. Cycles of resistance and crackdown hardened attitudes on both sides. Generations grew up knowing only conflict, deepening mistrust and despair. The occupation became the defining feature of the conflict, shaping every aspect of life. Hopes for peace faded as the shadow of occupation lengthened. The two-state solution, an independent Palestine alongside Israel, has long been the favored path to peace. In theory, it would satisfy both people's national aspirations, but in practice, it's fraught with obstacles. Borders are a major issue. Israeli settlements in the West Bank complicate any withdrawal. Jerusalem is another flashpoint, with both sides claiming it as their capital and its holy sites making compromise difficult. The right of return for Palestinian refugees remains deeply divisive, with Israel fearing it would end its Jewish majority. Negotiations have repeatedly stalled over these core issues. The simple idea of two states remains elusive amid complex realities on the ground. The conflict's course has been shaped by powerful leaders and groups on both sides. Yasser Arafat led the Palestinian movement for decades, shifting from armed struggle to negotiation, but left a divided legacy. Mahmoud Abbas pursued diplomacy, but his authority was weakened by the rise of Hamas, which seized control of Gaza and rejects Israel's existence. Hamas's control has led to blockades and repeated wars with Israel. On the Israeli side, Benjamin Netanyahu's long leadership has emphasized security and settlement expansion, making a two-state solution more difficult. The Israel Defense Forces are seen by Israelis as protectors, but by Palestinians as enforcers of occupation. Each side's leaders and institutions are viewed in starkly different ways, fueling mistrust. Internal divisions and hardline policies have made compromise elusive. The legacies of these leaders continue to shape the conflict's trajectory. Decades of violence have created a cycle of fear and mistrust on both sides. Israelis, shaped by memories of persecution and the Holocaust, see security as paramount and view threats as existential. Palestinians fear further loss of land, home demolitions, and the daily uncertainty of occupation. Each side's actions reinforce the other's fears, fueling a vicious cycle of violence and retaliation. Religion adds another layer, with both sides seeing the land as sacred and non-negotiable. Generational trauma runs deep as children inherit the pain and anger of their parents. Narratives of victimhood and survival are passed down, hardening identities. The conflict is not just about territory, but about history, faith, and memory. Overcoming this legacy of fear is one of the greatest challenges to peace. The cycle continues, making reconciliation ever more difficult. The long history of conflict can make peace seem impossible, with core issues appearing insurmountable. Yet hope persists in the shared humanity of ordinary Israelis and Palestinians who long for safety and a better future. Grassroots organizations and courageous individuals work to bridge divides and build trust. History shows that even the most entrenched conflicts can be resolved with courage and compromise. Lasting peace requires mutual recognition, justice, and security for both peoples. Israelis must acknowledge Palestinian aspirations and the pain of occupation. Palestinians must recognize Israel's need for security and historic connection to the land. With empathy and understanding, a future of coexistence remains possible.